Okay. So, solo movements, right? They're great to learn how to move your body, right? They're not good to learn how to fight.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, we use these sometimes as kind of prerequisites for people for knowledge, right? A human has to know how to move in our sport in ways that are appropriate for what we do, right? If I was like, oh, get out of a headlock and you just drop to the floor, you will probably get out of the headlock because I'm probably going to let go of your limp body because it could break your neck. Well, that's kind of actually what happens, right? So people will like, oh, get out. Well, how do I move? And they just drop, and you're like, I'm holding your neck, bud.
Yeah.
Right. So inappropriate movement for what we do, if that makes sense, right? Where if they did something in form of like sitting out, but not sitting out because that level change would be wrong.
Bad for their neck. Yeah.
Exactly. But a type of sit out where I would come horizontally pushing through someone's elbow.
Yeah.
Right, would be great. You would not be getting choked from a guillotine or anything of that nature. You'd make a lot of space for your neck. You could shoot around to the back, right?
Yeah.
That is an appropriate movement for jujitsu, right? When we do solo drills, we have nothing to base it off of whether or not it is an appropriate movement other than the fact someone's telling you.
Right.
Right. A human being dictates what happens in our interactions most of the time when we're fighting, right? So, like threading the needle. Why is threading the needle important? Well, in limited space, right, where there's a human being in front of me being able to hold him, change the angle and what the direction of my hips tells me that I can now end up on the top position. Because I might not be able to use this leg to do this. And I'd have to use this leg to do that.
Yeah.
And that's where threading the needle becomes important. These movements, right, by themselves, they look silly and they look foolish, in my personal opinion, right? When you put another human being in interaction with them, that is when they should be at their finest, right? If they're not, you're kind of wasting your solo drill.
It's kind of like a Mr. Miyagi thing, right? Wax on, wax off. It doesn't matter. Like, it looks silly until you're using it against someone else, right? Like, they're there, they look silly on their own, but you put a person in front of them, and then all of a sudden it makes sense. You know?
Kind of, yeah. They should make sense, right? Solo drill is much like learning the alphabet, right? Becomes less and less important the more you've already done the alphabet, right? Because like, do you still currently draw your alphabet? No, you don't. Not unless you're teaching your child.
That's true.
Right? You might when you teach your child. But that's the only time you do it because you can write. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Solo drilling is important, right? And I think in the acquisition of motion, right? Not necessarily the acquisition of fighting in jiu-jitsu, the acquisition of motion. That's the skill that you're building when you're doing solo drills. You have to teach your body how to move. Once your body knows how to move, the solo drilling becomes less important unless you do not have a partner to participate with.
Yeah.
Right? We don't warm up in here with solo drills.
Right.
Because I don't view them as valuable in comparison to what you could be doing with a human.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like today, do you feel like you became a better fighter?
I think I learned a good amount about some movements.
You learned how to move.
Movements.
Yeah, right?
Not better at.
They would not make you any
grappling.
better at grappling. And isn't that crazy?
But doesn't a better understanding of how to move your body translate into better grappling?
You would think. And
Right.
the answer is kind of. Right? Because the better understanding how to move your body is only half of it.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense because you got to move the other people.
Because you're 100% right. It is. Learning how to know how to move yourself, right, is 100% valuable, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't translate if that's the only thing you know.
Yeah.
Because you have to move another human.
Yeah.
And
no,
a
it
human
doesn't.
gets a vote.
Yeah.
right? So like knowing better movement and how to move, very valuable.
Yeah.
Right? There's people out there, they do like what we call primal movements, right? And they're all movement based. Not a lot of those dudes can't fight.
Yeah.
If it was transferable skill, that person should be able to fight.
Right.
Right? Just by the statement of I know how to move my body. so
Moving is
therefore-
moving and fighting is fighting.
Yeah, I do think they're a different
They're-
set of skills,
yeah.
right? And I know that that's kind of like nuancy to have a premise about.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm saying this is because I think that solo drills are valuable beginning tools,
Well,
right? For people to learn movement, but until someone can take the movement of that solo drill and apply it in application and with some form of resistance,
Yeah.
it's not a real skill acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn how to move, but you don't know how. You're like learning how to craft out the shape of an A, right? But you don't know how to write
Yeah.
in the slightest.
Yeah.
And until you learn how to write, I think solo drills are great. If you learn how to write, I think solo drills lose their value.
You think they lose their value in what way?
Okay. Solo drilling, right? This is different, in my personal opinion, than what I would consider shadow grappling, right?
Right.
I can shadow grapple anytime, anywhere, right? And I don't even necessarily have to do the motions, I can just be thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
It's a form of shadow grappling, it's just the thought process.
Okay.
So I actually think shadow grappling is more valuable than solo drilling after a certain point.
Okay.
Because solo drilling, me doing more arm bars, right, is going to have how much return versus me learning how to do something else or to focus my time frame on, let's say, the value of certain grips, right? An interesting grip that like a lot of people don't like understand. We always talk about when we do like the knee to elbow escape coming over the foot.
Yeah.
Well, you can come under it too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So can I steal you? Mount, right? So like for me, this has less mount. So for me, the value, right, of doing this is less than this,
Yeah.
right? That slight distinction deserves more of my time,
Yeah.
right, than repeatedly doing an arm bar, right? Not to say that my arm bar might not get better or sharpened, right? But what should dedicate more of my time to? Understanding a grip and its function and fashion, right? And then obviously steps and tiers, right? We should never lose or degrade in certain skills that we already possess, but our understanding should keep growing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, if you are using solo drill as a crutch to basically stay in a plateau, most people don't understand why they do something. This is where you should not be doing solo drilling and doing some technical understanding.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, not to disvalue solo drilling.
Yeah.
I think at every level, some form of solo drilling is important. Some form. But the majority of solo drilling, I think, stops at a certain point and should.
I see what you're saying.
Perfect. Now that my pontification's over,